English is organizing the prose lecture series from 7th June 2021 to 11th June 2021. And now today is the third day of this prose lecture series, and we have with us online Dr. M.R. Zare, Associate Professor, Head of the Department of English, and also working as Vice Principal in S.M. Joshi College, Hadapsar, Pune. I welcome sir. I also welcome our respected Principal, Dr. Madhusudan Sarnaik sir, our Vice Principal, Dr. B.T. Pawar sir, second Vice Principal, Dr. Vaishali Bagul madam, the Vice Principal of the Junior College, Vishal Sabne sir, my colleague, Dr. Ajay Deshmukh sir, all the dear participants, and our today's resource person, Dr. M.R. Zare. And in short, today I would like to give the topic of the today's session that Dr. M.R. Zare is delivering lecture on not answering the telephone by William Plomer. This prose lesson is prescribed for our syllabus for the B.Sc and B.A. second year. And I would like to introduce our today's resource person. Dr. M.R. Zare sir has been working as a vice principal, head of the department, and he is also the associate professor in S.M. Joshi College, Hadapsar, Pune. Sir has joined in the Rayat Shikshan Sanstha in 1990. Sir has more than 31 years experience. Sir has participated in many national and international conferences. Even sir has presented more than 37 papers in these national and international conferences. Sir has also organized 4 conferences and workshops regarding the quality education. Sir is also working as the member of the internal quality cell of the SM Joshi College. And today we have with us a very great resource person having a lot of teaching experience, academic and administrative experience. I would like to request Dr. M.R. Zare sir to please deliver on not answering the telephone by William Plomer. Dr. Zare sir, please. May I request to Dr. Zare sir? Hello.
He has not unmuted his meet.
May I request Zare sir, please unmute your. Hello, Dr. Zare sir. Please unmute your mic. Hello, Dr. Zare sir, am I audible to you?
So, if possible, call him on personal number.
Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Okay, okay.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Uh, Good morning, all and one.
Good morning, sir.
Honorable Principal Dr. Yamar Sirnaik, sir, convener of this program, my friend Dr. Vijay Kumar Mandal, organizing secretary Dr. A.S. Deshmukh, the members of the organizing committee, and dear participants. I'm really happy to be the part of this grand event, 1 week online student development program, that is English Prose Lecture Series. I really feel honored, and hence I extend my sincere thanks to the principal and the organizing committee. First of all, let me congratulate Honorable Principal Sirnaik sir and his team, as well as the management, as they are celebrating Golden Jubilee year of the establishment of the college, Shri Muktanand College, Gangapur. My friend Dr. Vijay Kumar Mandal introduced me. I don't know whether I deserve to be introduced like that. Perhaps being the friend, he might have said more things about me. Anyhow, now we are going to start the lecture. Let me share my PPT first. One minute.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Like this, you wanna- Can you see the PPT? Mandal sir?
No, sir. No, still not. Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, we are seeing that.
1 minute, sir.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, friends. Here are some pictures for you. This is the first, second one.
Hmm? Hmm? Sir, PPT is not open, sir. Hello.
Hello, hello.
PPT is not open, sir.
1 minute. Now, is it visible?
No, no, sir.
Now,
No.
am I visible to you?
Are you visible? But the PPT is not seeing on the screen. Yeah, sir. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
Am I visible?
Yeah, yeah,
No, no. PPT is visible as well as
yeah. Both PPT.
both.
You are sharing screen also. Okay.
Okay,
Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead. Hmm?
Okay, friends.
Okay.
Let us see some pictures here on the screen. All these pictures talk a lot about the reality of today. All these pictures indicate that how youngsters, elders, and even the children have fond of mobiles. No doubt, it has become the essential device nowadays. No doubt, it has become the essential device nowadays. However, the modern man needs to think over it. These pictures remind me the research made in 2017 by the media analytics score from USA. It was regarding the use of smartphones and cell phones. It will be really interesting to go through some of the findings of the research. The first finding of that research was the average American adult spent approximately 2 hours and 51 minutes on their smartphone every single day. As per the company's calculation, one spends 5 years and 4 months on social media apps over a lifetime. And the important thing is that it is 36% more time than any of us spend eating and drinking. This is a really horrible one. What are our basic needs? The basic needs are food, clothes, and shelter. Mobile is not the basic need. Still, we see, even there is one picture you can see, little children, they are also fond of mobiles. They are sitting together. Still, they don't communicate with each other. The second finding of the research was it in fact makes us worry that 26% of accidents involving cars are caused by cell phone use while driving. The important finding from my point of view is that 60% of US college students consider themselves to have a cell phone addiction. As the participant in this lecture series are the college going students, this is important from their point of view also, and that is why the college students need to know what mobile addiction is. Here I am going to tell you some of the symptoms of mobile addiction. I would request all the students just try to find out how many of them you have. For that, let me ask you some questions. Question number 1. Do you appear anxious when phone battery is low? The second one is, do you panic if cell phone is misplaced or service is unavailable? I mean that out of network. The third question is, do you spend more time connecting online than connecting with people around you? Fourth one is, do you sleep with a smartphone on or under the pillow? Do you use the phone in dangerous situations such as driving? Do you have your smartphones on the table during your meal? And the last one, do you believe the cell phone to have rung or vibrated when it hasn't? Friends, if the answers to the questions, I mean that to some of these questions or to all of these questions is yes, then you are mobile addicted. You must think of it and try to free yourself from this addiction or what we call domination of gadgets. Let us go further. Here you see the picture, and this is very horrible one. There are two friends, perhaps a couple. At the end of the day, they are in the restaurant, perhaps taking some breakfast. The irony of the situation is that both of them are at the same table. Still, instead of communicating face to face with each other, both have their cell phones and they are chatting on the cell phone. The boy or that person says, "How was your day?" This is the message sent by this person to that woman who is sitting in front of him. She also replies him, "Good." And yours? It is really horrible one. And we all must think of it. Let us see next picture. Here is a couple. They are sleeping in the bedroom. They have their own cell phones in their hands. And instead of talking with each other, they are chatting on their personal cell phones. What does it suggest? It suggests us that the physical distance between the people has been decreased, but mental distance has been increased. No doubt, because of science, technology, and globalization, the world has become a big village. It has merged all the boundaries between the countries, but unfortunately, this progress, I mean that this so-called progress, has built walls between people, between us. No doubt that because of this device, the world is at everybody's fingertip. We are going to talk about the essay on not answering the telephone, written by William Plomer. Before going to the actual essay, it is very essential to see who was William Plomer. William Plomer was born of English parents in northern Transvaal from South Africa. He was born in 1903 and died in 1973. He was the famous poet, novelist, and short story writer, but he is more famous as short story writer. He used pen name, that is pseudonym, Robert Pagan occasionally. In his first novel, Terwat Wolf, he wrote about, rather he raised his voice against discrimination, against racism, because of which he had to leave South Africa. And then he settles in London, England. In England, Plomer worked as literary editor for the famous publishers Faber and Faber and Jonathan Cape. He was an active contributor to the BBC also. This great writer is the recipient of various awards and honors. He was made a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature in 1951. Then he was made the President of the Poetry Society in 1958. He was also awarded Honorary D.Litt. by the University of Durham in 1959. He had also won the Queen's Gold Medal for Poetry in 1963. In 1968, he was awarded the Order Commander of the British Empire, that is CBE, the third highest in the order. I think that this introduction of the writer William Plomer is sufficient. Let us go to the actual essay. Before going to the essay, I would like to make some introductory remarks on not answering the telephone. It is a very humorous essay. The author talks very gently about the practical problems of the machines invented by man. This is actually a speech given over the radio by Plomer. The present essay is an extract taken from that speech which he made in the British Broadcasting Corporation, that is BBC. Secondly, the essay is an argumentative essay. The writer, William Plomer, argues for a proposition. Proposition means proposal. Proposition means a suggestion. The proposition in this essay is that it is unnecessary to have a telephone because it brings more trouble than help. The way he develops his argument is inductive. He uses large number of examples from day-to-day life to prove his point, to prove his proposition. Thirdly, the essay opens up a very important debate, and the debate is about the merits and demerits of the machines in general and the telephone in particular. He discusses the impact of telephone, typewriter and car on his mind. Fourthly, the essay focuses on the disadvantages of simple equipment that overshadow their advantages. The author brings home the dependence of man on machine in a delightful manner. He does it, he writes it humorously in a witty way. His recollections of his experience with these machines are indeed very funny, and we cannot help agreeing with him that sometimes these machines do cause irritation in us. Hence, here in this essay, we are going to study some of the main reasons as to why Plomer considers the telephone as a necessary evil. The author is famous for his witty and humorous writing, and therefore we will also get a good picture of what witty writing is all about. The present essay can be divided into three major parts. In fact, the essay consists of 7 paragraphs, and these 7 paragraphs can be divided into 3 parts. The first para can be called an introduction. In this paragraph, the writer puts forward a premise, an idea on which he bases the whole argument. The sentence in this paragraph, I just haven't got a telephone, most clearly establishes the subject and draws the reader into the issue. So the first para is introduction. The second part, that consists of paragraph number 2 to 6, can be called the body of the issue. In all these 5 paragraphs, paragraph number 2 to 6, he puts forth supporting arguments and provides examples from day-to-day life to prove his proposition, I just haven't got a telephone. In paragraph number 2, he tells us 2 things. The first one, the writer can live without, the writer can live a normal life without a telephone. And the second one is, a telephone is a pest and time waster. Pest means nuisance. The author calls telephone a nuisance, troublesome thing. He calls it necessary evil. In paragraph number 3, he tries to convince us that to have a telephone at home is a nuisance. In paragraph number 4, he tells us that though one doesn't have a telephone, news either good or bad will reach anyone just as quickly. In paragraph number 5, he opines that to have one's name and address printed in the telephone directory will bring one a world of troubles. Paragraph number 6, in this para, the author tells us that telephone at home is not of much use even in case of emergency. And the paragraph number 7 can be called a concluding para. In that paragraph, the author makes a convincing finish in which he draws a conclusion from his preceding argument. So broadly, this essay can be divided into these 3 major parts. First para, introduction. Para number 2 to 6 is arguments, that can be called the body of the essay. And paragraph number 7, that is the last para, can be called conclusion. First of all, in fact, that he talks about 3 gadgets: telephone, typewriter, and car. First of all, he talks about the telephone. Let us see in detail what he has to say about the telephone. He begins his essay by saying that he does not have a telephone. However, people around him take too much for granted that the author has a telephone. In fact, that author doesn't have a telephone, but the people around him take much for granted and they consider or they think the author has a telephone. And that's why every time at the end of conversation, they say, the people say to the author, as soon as I know, I'll ring you up. If the author has no telephone, then how can they ring him or call him? In fact, that if the author doesn't have a phone, nobody can call him. In spite of that, the people who call him or the people around him tell him that as soon as I know, I'll bring you up. Many people have been surprised at the authors not having a telephone. Many times he tried to tell the people that he was not available on the telephone, and different people had different reactions to this. Some people said it was inconvenient. According to some other people, it was unbelievable. And some people thought it to be foolish and called him mad. Most people are shocked as to why he does not have one. They stare at him, they stare at the author wildly and consider him an eccentric. However, the author has his own reasons for not having telephone. The first is because he dislikes the idea of possessing it. He doesn't want to possess telephone. As he thinks it is a nuisance, he doesn't want to have a telephone. And that's why the idea of possessing telephone is not liked by the author. Secondly, he is able to manage his daily life without telephone. If it is possible for the author to manage every day's routine without a phone, then the question of the author is why it is necessary to have telephone. In fact, that he is of the view it is unnecessary to have a telephone. He does not think that phone is essential because he can eat, he can breathe, he can sleep, he can play without telephone. And that is why he thinks it is unnecessary evil. In fact, that according to the author, telephone creates unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary suspense, and unnecessary delay. For example, when you expect someone's call, someone's phone, and if it keeps you waiting, it causes unnecessary anxiety and suspense. Even when you try to call someone on phone, whose phone is constantly engaged, it also creates unnecessary anxiety. It creates unnecessary delay. For him, in fact, that therefore the author calls it a pest. Pest means nuisance. He calls it time waster. For him, it is an irritant and a waste of time. Therefore, he used them reluctantly. It doesn't mean that the author never used telephone. He used it, but he does it or he did it reluctantly. He was eager to avoid them as much as possible. Then author expresses his views about public telephone booth. He doesn't like them. Speaking from the booth may be an equally horrible experience. Booths may be unventilated. They may be choking us with cheap cosmetics and smoke. Moreover, people in queue in front of the booth waiting for their turn curse you on your back for taking too much time to finish speaking. These are some of the things for which he doesn't like public telephone booths. Next, he recalls a typical scene when a telephone rings. The author tells it or relates that typical scene very humorously. According to the author, very often telephone rings when we don't want to eat. When we don't want telephone to ring, it rings. It rings either when we are asleep or in the middle of a conversation or going out or taking bath. And that is why Plomer thinks it to be a nuisance. On these occasions, he suggests that we should not be tempted to pick it up. We should learn to ignore the ringing at some times. It means that we, instead of being tempted to pick it up every time, we must learn to ignore sometimes the ringing of telephone. Then the poet, the author who is disliking telephone, he says the people may be considering him to be quite conventional person, traditional person, but he was not orthodox. Then he makes a bold statement in the essay, and the statement is that all telephone numbers are wrong numbers. Why he calls them wrong numbers? Because they ring at, or they ring stupidly or absurdly in a house's privacy. He strongly believes that it is rather true that whether news is there, whatever news is there would reach you anyway, even without a telephone. To reach any news to you, telephone is not necessary. Without telephone, it can reach to you. Good news has begun to seem to be traveling just as fast as ill news, and that's why he asks us to think about the two proverbs here in this paragraph. These two proverbs are, the first one is, news travels apace. Apace means at a fast pace or quickly. The proverb means that I must say good news seems to travel just as fast. The second proverb about which he asks us to think is the truth will be out. The author is of the view it definitely will out. The truth will become known sooner or later. That's why one need not worry about all these things. Then he speaks out his views regarding the telephone directory. In his opinion, the telephone directory is troublesome. One minute. Since our names are printed in the telephone directory, according to author, our numbers are available to everyone. It is likely to invite strangers and criminals to engage you in conversation. This gives rise to the possibility of unknown people calling us at all odd hours. According to him, it is equally absurd to say hello to a total stranger, as our names, our phone numbers and addresses are printed in the telephone directory. And as telephone directory is open to all, anybody can take or anybody can get your contact number from telephone directory and he can call you. And that's why you can be called by a stranger. Then the author strongly believes that it is always possible to manage without telephones. It is even possible to manage even in a emergency like illness, accident or fire. In such cases, we can use public telephones, which are large in number in England. One needn't own a telephone to do so, because telephone calls can be made from anywhere, from any telephone booth. To prove his point, telephone as a nuisance, He further adds the remark of an actor who was fed up with telephone. He says, once a well-known actor said that if he was left alone to live on a desert land and allowed to take one luxury with him, he would take the telephone with him, bury its wires in the sand, and derive great pleasures of watching it dead. He would be happy that it would never ring. It would never ring in the desert, and he would not have to answer it. We see that telephone alone is not the cause of Plomer's anger. He is equally angry with typewriters also. He is equally disgusted with the typewriter and cars. He dislikes not only telephone, but he dislikes typewriters and cars also. His friends someday suggested him to use a typewriter to type his letters to them. Therefore, he decided to buy one. He bought one typewriter, but then, as is always with him, he did not find it exciting to use the typewriter. Though he learned to type well, he did not appreciate the formation of letters in the typed format. In fact, that it was the opinion of the author that he could write neatly. And that's why his friends, publishing houses, should not bother him to type whatever he wants to send to them. As he was able to write neatly, as his handwriting was readable, he wanted to write whatever he wants to write. But being insisted by his friends and publishing houses, he bought one typewriter, but as usual, he did not enjoy typing. He did not like typewriters, and for that purpose, he gives two reasons. The first reason is that the sound produced by the typewriter at the end of each line. He did not like that sound. And the second reason is the author tells us he is not mechanical minded. And not being mechanical minded, he did not like to oil, clean, or mend typewriters. Further, humorously, he tells us that the typewriter would get jammed if he touched it. Then he comes to the cars. He did not like cars also. He tells us his experience with car. He learned to drive car at the age of 17. He not only learned to drive the car, but he got driving license also at his 17. When he visited another part of Africa, where there was no motor traffic, driving was comparatively easier. As there was no heavy traffic, the author used to drive fast. Rocky, muddy, or sandy roads did not prevent him. As he drove fast, soon the speedometer of his car was broken. In fact, that the author was not a reckless driver. He was rather careful driver. He never injured any of the person. He never killed anyone anyway. However, soon driving also irritated him. For his irritation, he gives again two reasons. The first reason is heavy traffic. He got bored with driving because of heavy traffic. And the second reason given by the author is, while driving, the driver has to follow infinite rules and regulations. And that is why the author plainly tells us, because of heavy traffic and necessity to follow innumerable rules and regulations, he became bored with driving. Throughout the essay, or throughout 6 paragraphs that consist of the body of the essay, we see the author gives us different examples for his dislike towards first telephone, second typewriter, and the third car. But it doesn't mean the author is against of this progress, against of these luxuries.
Hello.
Author is aware. Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Somebody was asking something. No?
No, sir. No.
Okay, okay. He was well aware that it's a machine age. He was well aware that because of scientific and technological progress, these luxuries are available for man, and that's why man should use all of them. He was not an escapist. He was not a crank. People would call him a simple lifer. In fact, that author is against of machines. But why he is against of machines? He is against because there is undue dominance of these machines over man. Instead of blaming machines, he tries to blame the people. And that's why he is certainly against of man's undue dependence on the machines. Though he condemns telephone, though he condemns typewriter, though he condemns cars, he says that he is not escapist, he is not a crank, or he is not a simple lifer. He is not trying to put the clock of modernity back. He is just of the view that what many people think necessary is not necessary at all. In fact, that he wishes not to be dominated by the machines. And that is why he advises us to avoid these machines whenever it is possible. In fact, that he admits he uses many of the machines, many of the luxuries that are provided by the science. He uses trains, cars, and aircraft. Even he takes lifts. He uses moving staircases. For him, it is a matter of preferences and not principles. This is very important. Preference is important. And that's why condemning these machines is not a matter of principles, it is a matter of preferences for him. In fact, he does not want to feed the typewriter with sheets of papers. He would rather use his legs to walk than lose the use of them by being driven in a car. The fact is that he is dead against the domination of machines. Domination of machines over man. He hates machines and machines him. The author hates machine and machines hate him. When he touches them, he very humorously tells us, when he touches machines, they tend to break down, they tend to catch fire, or they tend to blow up. Finally, he admits that in different circumstances, he would have required telephone. Different circumstances means, had he been a tycoon, had he been bedridden, had he been wealthy businessman, he would have required telephone. Had he been a secretary, he would have required typewriter. Had he been a taximan, he would have required car. And that's why this opinion of the author tells us that he is not totally against of machines, he is against of man, for whom these machines have become necessary in all situations at all times. The author advises us to avoid the use or excessive use of these machines. Finally, we should remember that machines are made for us and we are not made for machines. Whatever luxuries, whatever comforts are provided by scientific and technological progress to man, they are for us. We are not for them. It is individual choice, whether to dominate the machines or enjoy luxuries or comforts, or to be dominated by the machines. Before I put full stop to my lecture, once again I would like to thank the principal, the organizing committee, as well as you all who attended this lecture. With these words, I would like to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sir has given nice presentation on not answering the telephone by William Plomer. Sir has given three components of the essay: introductory part, the body of the part, and the conclusion. According to the author's opinion, that in the present scenario, the use of machine is excessive, and we have been seeing that there are different types of influences on the human beings. Even say nowadays in the COVID-19 pandemic, we see that uh, without mobile, that is telephone, instead of telephone, we have nowadays mobile phones. Even without mobile phones, it is very difficult to life. But excessive use of these mobile phones to the children, there have something, some more kinds of diseases we have been watching, or we have been experiencing nowadays. Uh, so I would like to request my colleague Ajay Deshmukh sir to express sincere vote of thanks to all the participants. Ajay, please.
Thank you, sir. It was pleasant listening to you, Dr. Mahadev Zaresa. I'm very happy to have you on this panel for this wonderful lecture series. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Uh, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the students,
Thank you, sir.
participants, for being here with us in the celebration of our Golden Jubilee year. I'm also thankful to our honorable principal for providing this dais for expression. All the colleagues at the college and of the college, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all of them. And with the president's permission, I declare that the session is over. Thank you. We'll meet once again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Hello, sir.